Gateway program started about 5 years ago. Embry-Riddle was the first academic partner, along with Cape Air and JetBlue, and it was designed to build a defined pathway for students that wanted to be professional aviators. It's the first of a kind program where you start as a student and you extend all the way to the right seat of an airliner with JetBlue.
Well, the goal of the Gateway program for JetBlue is really a predictable pipeline of pilot talent into the airline. So we're one of the few airlines that's really organically growing in the United States, maybe arguably the world. There's been so much consolidation activity and a lot of retirements at other airlines. But our pilot population is quite a bit different. We're right now about 2,500 pilots, an average age that's still roughly 20 years away from retirement. So what we're looking for is this predictable path, this pipeline from a university such as Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University and the Gateway program into JetBlue.
Well, what we'd like to do is to get for JetBlue, because they're our strong business partner, to get multiple feeds of different carriers. Cape Air is pretty big, 135,000 flights a year with 60 airplanes. But we can only feed so many people, so we'd like to get them some really good, viable Part 135 feeds where people can build very, very valuable time. Flying in all weather, flying with passengers, dealing with all the situations that you encounter with a bigger airline. Just fewer number of people, but the same number of issues that you have. But even more fun because you're involved in a culture of only 1,000 people at Cape Air.
So I think the Gateway program is so unique at JetBlue. We're one of the few carriers that offers something like this. What I like about it is it demonstrates a true commitment to both becoming a pilot but also becoming a pilot for JetBlue. In many respects, we talk about wanting the opportunity to trial somebody before we actually hire. And when you think of the Gateway program, it's really a 7-year-long job interview. And I can't think of what more somebody would have to do to demonstrate that they wanted to be part of JetBlue.
Well, I think from a JetBlue perspective, we want to be partnering with quality organizations. And so when you look at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, 15% plus of our pilots today, they learned to fly at ERAU. It could have been in Prescott, it could have been down in Daytona. Of course, there's many students that are now working here as well that were products of the worldwide program. So you look at quality organizations, and we start to look at Cape Air and JetBlue and Embry-Riddle, and as you start to take a look at ExpressJet as well, these are quality organizations. And it's very targeted, it's very focused. But really, at the end of the day, there is one university across the world that's really known for producing pilots, and it's Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. So that's the direct reason as to why the Gateway program really started right there.
We call it a 7-year interview because you start when you're a sophomore and you get interviewed jointly with Cape Air and JetBlue.
JetBlue and Cape Air's values are very important to us, so we want to make sure that the students entering into the program, who will eventually be Cape Air and JetBlue pilots, share those same values. So we're looking at you as an individual, as a person, who you are and what you're all about. We know that you don't quite have the technical skills yet to fly an Airbus 320 or an Embraer 190, but we know that you'll get there, and we know that throughout the Gateway program you'll have those skills. So we really want to get to know who you are and what you're all about and make sure that it's going to be a good cultural fit for Cape Air and JetBlue.
I did an internship with Cape Air in 2007, which gave me the opportunity to work for them at their headquarters in Hyannis and also to fly for them as a first officer on the 402.
I ended up working at JetBlue that following summer in Orlando at JetBlue University, which was one of the best 3 months of Embry-Riddle that I had. We would go down, and it was in flight ops. It was doing everything from reading reports on, pilots experiencing issues with airplanes, to writing new course software that would be integrated into the simulator training.
When you graduate from an ABI-accredited university such as Embry-Riddle, you need to make sure that you maintain at least a 3.0 GPA, and also you will need a letter of recommendation from 2 of your professors.
The most important thing that Embry-Riddle really provides is a solid foundation to be able to work in the airline industry nowadays, not just through obviously the extensive flight training that you get at Embry-Riddle, but also through the courses that you take as well, just providing you with sort of basic knowledge and a platform to build off of as far as working in the airline industry nowadays.
Students in the Gateway program have to be selected as Embry-Riddle flight instructors. Once selected, they usually spend between about a year and a half flight instructing, somewhere between 800 and 1,000 flight hours. So during that 800 to 1,000 hours, you are the ultimate decision maker. You are the PIC in that airplane while you're teaching your students. And having that responsibility really prepares you to have that decision-making responsibility in industry. Being an airline pilot is much more than just skill and knowledge. It really comes down to culture and being the right person, and most importantly, having the ability to make good decisions, because really that's what the airline is hiring. When you graduate from Embry-Riddle, they're going to know you have the skill, they're going to know you have the knowledge. What they're looking for is, how do you make decisions? And having that instructional time, being that PIC in that airplane, is critical to building that decision-making skill and making you the ultimate pilot. Instructing and being a flight instructor is one of the most rewarding parts of your career. It's the most memorable part, for sure. And data has shown that it prepares you better for industry than anything else.
Then you come back to Cape Air and you have great fun flying for 2 to 3 years, accumulating hours, experience, and a lot of fun in a very, very similar culture to JetBlue's.
And then you join Cape Air as usually a first officer with about 800 to 1,000 hours. Upgrading to ATP, when you have the ATP minimums, we do the captain upgrade. And you fly for Cape Air for about 2 to 3 years as a captain. And once you hit about 3,000 to 4,000 hours is when you'd be eligible for the transition to JetBlue.
We did a 3-day jet transition course with JetBlue, where they brought us down to their Orlando support center and gave us the opportunity to work with them in their FTDs and their simulators, and also go through extensive ground training. Just in the same sort of things that you'd learned at Embry-Riddle, high altitude, high airspeed aerodynamics, also to become familiarized with various turbine systems, which was a fantastic opportunity. It was a lot of fun. After that, we were given sort of the prize at the end of all of this was a guaranteed interview at JetBlue.
When we're hiring a pilot, first and foremost, we look for somebody who's going to ensure the safe operation of a flight. Beyond that, JetBlue has a very unique culture, and we're a very customer service oriented company. So we do look for somebody who's going to be a great cultural fit at JetBlue, and somebody who looks at their job beyond just operating a plane from point A to point B, but somebody who's a natural leader, somebody who will help our passengers and ensure a wonderful customer service experience at JetBlue.
The interview process was good. It worked out very well for us. They brought us up here to their Long Island City support center, and it was only a process of about 2 or 3 hours. Got a chance to meet some of the chief pilots, some of the executives that work here at JetBlue while we were going through the interview. So it worked out well. It was a good time.
So it's about 7 years, depending on how quickly you accumulate your hours. But that's from the time that you're a sophomore right through the right seat of an airliner. So you figure you're probably 25 or 26 when you're strapped to the right seat of an E190 or an A320 with JetBlue.
The whole time along the way while you're in the program, you are designated a JetBlue mentor as well. And so as a student, you have access to a JetBlue pilot that's there to help you through any hard decisions you have to make, help you answer any questions about the industry, about what to do next, about the job, about the lifestyle. So you're really given the opportunity to succeed at every step, and that's the goal.
Having come to JetBlue, I'd say that you really start to appreciate all the steps that I've gone through throughout the program, the things that you learned at Embry-Riddle and at Cape Air that you maybe took for granted at the time, or perhaps were just part of your everyday routine, to the point where you didn't really appreciate them as being a part of your education and a significant part of your career.
I was interested in signing up because I had met people who had flown for both companies, and everybody always had such wonderful things to say about JetBlue and about Cape Air. The people are friendly, they're nice, they're fun to work with. It's a good core group of people. It was a good prediction on the future on where you're going to end up, as well as quality of life, not moving around all the time.
The Gateway program appealed to me for a few reasons. First of all, it gave you an opportunity to have some sort of a planned path, a goal that you could continually work for throughout the aviation industry, which nowadays is becoming increasingly uncertain as far as planning a career. So the idea that you could have individual steps along the way to achieve an ultimate goal, being a pilot for JetBlue, really appealed to me.
What interested me in the program is the fact that it was kind of a smaller step, but at the same time it's a large step. So you start out in a smaller airplane than you would at a regional, but at the same time, hopefully the ultimate goal at the end is to end up as a captain on an Airbus A320 working for JetBlue.
For anyone thinking about the Gateway program, I would say very seriously consider it. Talk to pilots that have gone through the program, talk to pilots that work for JetBlue or Cape Air, discuss it with your flight instructors. It is a big decision and shouldn't be taken lightly, but it really has been a rewarding process for me going through it. So I would say definitely approach people that work for these companies and try and make as informed a decision as you can. My own personal advice would be to certainly do it. It's worked out very well for me. I've been very happy with every step so far.
My advice to today's graduates is really, as you look at the different opportunities that are out there, interestingly enough, be selfish. And that is, really look to the quality organizations where you want to work.
Embry-Riddle and Cape Air have both been fantastic, and the opportunity to get kind of my foot in the door here at JetBlue considerably sooner than I might otherwise have been able to was also a huge appeal.
The important thing to remember is don't ever forget that way your heart skips a beat when you fly an airplane, when you see an airplane taking off or landing. That's what aviation is all about. We get so removed from it, we start forgetting that. And being at Cape Air and being at JetBlue, you realize aviation is something that is a passion. It's not a job, it's a passion. It's something that your whole life you look at airplanes differently than most people get to see them. And in the history of planet Earth, all the billions of people that have lived, think of what a small number of people get to fly airplanes. We're pretty fortunate.
Interviews for the Gateway program are conducted once a year during the Industry Career Expo during the fall semester. Students that are interested in the program, they can contact their Career Services office, and if you are on the Daytona Beach campus, come see me in the Career Services office on the second floor of the Student Center.
The experience at Cape Air is not quite unique, but it's different than most carriers. You're flying 9-seat airplanes, but you're flying in an airline operation, scheduled operation. You're flying some of the smallest, less congested airports in the whole world. Messina in New York doesn't even have a control tower and no radar. And 3 hours later, you're flying into Logan International Airport, which is in the top 10. And if you slow below 170 knots on final, they start saying, well, you better speed up, pal. So you're getting high density flying, you're getting non-radar environment flying.
It's a lot of fun flying. It's challenging, certainly. Flying in New England, flying low approaches, hard IFR experience.
Well, it's a fun airplane to fly. I think you hear from a lot of pilots in the industry and they fly highly automated airplanes. And while it might sound like a negative that our airplanes aren't that automated, I think it's a positive thing that we get a lot of hands-on flying in weather. And we fly in the Northeast, we fly in the Midwest, also in the Caribbean and Florida. Those regions typically don't have as much weather, but up here we do, and in the Northeast we do. And if you like to fly, I think you really enjoy flying a Cessna 402 for Cape Air.
Even though as a first officer, I'm not required on all the flights. However, the captain usually, and almost all the time, gives you that opportunity to make those decisions. He gives you the opportunity to be a part of the actual flight planning and what goes on behind the scenes, just getting the airplane to the destination.
We'll find out our schedule the night before. We can begin planning at that time. We typically do, on average, 6 to 8 flights per day. Some of our routes are only 12 minutes in stage length, where some of them are an hour and a half. And I would say an average day is 8 to 10 hours. Our show times are an hour before our first flight. We come in, we check weather, we file flight plans. We can go out and pre-flight the aircraft. Operations will give us our passenger weights. We'll sit on the computer and we'll do a computer weight and balance, carry that out to the airplane.
You're also getting to interact with the customers. A lot of us in professional aviation are removed from the customers with a Kevlar door. You've got the customers, you're dealing with the issues that they normally contend with unbeknownst to you. Ooh, I left my purse back at the gate. What am I going to do? Oops, I'm not feeling well. What are you going to do for me? Oops, hey, I'm a little nervous about this airplane. Can you make me comfortable? All of those things that our Cape Air pilots get to do on a daily basis, and those are skill sets that are that most people in the airline business don't get to do today. Most critical thing though is you're dealing with all the different departments, and again in the big air carriers you're siloed, so you don't get to experience the people in airport services that are loading the bags and putting the passengers on board. Very seldom do you interact directly with SOC. You don't talk to the maintenance people directly. At Cape Air you're up close and personal, and you become friends with them, and you realize that it takes more than just pilots to operate an airline.